trying to get me to put a moderator on there, but no, not doing that. Not even answering questions online at this point. Hello. So we're doing boundaries. And the thing about boundaries is that when you want to manifest an authentic life that is reflective of your soul, of your creativity, um, you have to create your own boundaries, right? Because if you don't create your own boundaries, you're living by other people's rules. And there's no way that other people's rules really fit with what you're trying to create. So when, like if you're like, hey, I'm an artist and I paint between 1 a.m. and 6 a.m. And everybody's like, you can't do that. That's not normal. You can't just sleep all day, whatever. You're like, that's when I paint. That's when I need to paint. And I need to kind of make my whole life revolve around that schedule, right? I'm not gonna hang out with people that kind of conflict with that or whatever, right? And so the whole world is going to come at you with something. People are going to come at you with things like, well, that's not good for you to be awake at night, or that messes up your circadian rhythms, or whatever the hell, right? And you got to be like, well, tough shit. I paint at night. That's the deal, end of story, whatever. And anything that you do, it's like if you're going to go to Hollywood to be famous, and people are like, why don't you get a job at the factory like your brother did? Right? And it's like, this is ridiculous. You think you could just go to Hollywood and be a movie star? And, well, I'm going to try. That's what I'm going to do. And if I fail, bummer. But, that's what I need to do. So anything that you do in life that breaks the mold requires new boundaries. And most people don't have good boundaries, and most people are kind of afraid to set boundaries that piss people off. Most people are in the matrix. Most people are primarily just worried about not getting in trouble, not pissing everybody off. And so, they're just like, what do I need these? Why would I go out and break these rules? Why would I go piss everybody off? Right? I don't see the benefit to it. So, and basically everybody needs to learn to have good boundaries. You don't have to be an artist or an aspiring actor or something like that to need boundaries. Just to be able to say, my mother-in-law is not allowed to come over here. I read this thing online yesterday where this woman had her mother-in-law come over and watch the baby, and she was like taking a nap, and she really needed to sleep and whatever, but she really had this thing of like, I only want my baby to drink breast milk. And so, and she had pumped, there were bottles in the fridge ready for mother-in-law, and mother-in-law sneaks in formula and feeds the baby formula. The mom sleeps late, she wakes up, she looks in the fridge, none of the breast milk has been used. She's like, what's going on? And the mother-in-law is like, I think formula is the reason your baby's not sleeping at night and whatever. And like, well, that's not your decision to make, So there's always these situations where it's easier to just say, oh, well, she's the mother-in-law and you can't, you just deal with it and whatever. And, but then if you want it to be where you want your baby to only have breast milk, then no, everybody can only give my baby these bottles, And So it's like, in terms of like having your authenticity, if you want to manifest, if you want to tap into your power, your magic, whatever, you first have to have the boundaries where you're safe in this area to be able to exist. And you need the boundaries. You need people not challenging you all the time. And so, at the bottom of this sheet, I put boundaries are not aggressive. They're not an attack. Okay? When you set boundaries on people, they oftentimes will act like it's an attack. You are attacking them with your boundaries. And but boundaries are very passive. Boundaries are like a fence, like a wall, like no trespassing sign, The fence, the wall, the sign, they're not attacking anybody. They're just there, It's when you mess with it, when you go over that line, well, then maybe somebody calls the cops or whatever, and that's the aggression, right? That's the boundary maintenance, right? But if you set a boundary that people don't like, they will act like this is an act of aggression. Like, why are you doing this to me? Okay. I'm not doing anything to you. If I say, you can't feel me up on the crowded bus, that's not me doing something to you. That's me saying you can't do something to me, right? And so that person will always gaslight, or not always, but it's a very common thing, that they'll gaslight you by, why are you doing this to me? Why are you being this way, right? And they'll do it with the dumbest things that, like, you would think nobody would just say, I'm allowed to do that. You would think for sure that's not cool. But so many people are used to taking so many liberties with boundaries. And what's happened is, usually, like in relationships, it's a slowly tightening noose. It's like once you accept that one boundary, oh, now there's the next one and the next one, and it just keeps getting tighter, right? That's like, it's like a cult. It's like a lot of things, right? It's like a club that you join, everybody's all friendly. They want new members. They want people to pay dues. When you get in the group, all of a sudden it's like, oh, we don't do that. We do it this way. And, and there are more and more rules, and there are ways that you have to behave there, and there are ways that you can speak. Okay. And what you'll notice is the people who don't like your boundaries are the people who have no problem with their boundaries, right? They're really good at boundaries a lot of times. They're amazing at boundaries, but you're not. And they depend on you not being. That's what they need of you. I want to do a little guided meditation. And so all you got to do is close your eyes and relax. But it is good if you put your feet on the ground. Put your feet flat on the ground. You two out there in TV land. And so I want you to imagine anything that is really cute and precious. It could be a baby, it could be a kitty, it could be a puppy. I don't care what it is, right? But I want you to feel that there's this thing that if anybody came and said, I'm going to chop that into pieces, you would literally die before you would let that happen, right? Okay. So imagine that you're holding this precious thing, and just feel that kind of, like, I don't care. I'm going to just use the example of a baby, but like, I don't care who is coming for this baby. They're going to have to get through me. And whether that's easy for them or hard for them, all I can tell you is I'm going to fight till the end. They're not getting my baby. Okay? And I want you to feel, and it's not so much feel the aggressive part of that, but feel the love, the allegiance, and feel your feet on the ground as you do this. Feel the solidity of your protective energy. Feel the uncompromising nature of the protective energy that you would give this baby. Okay? And just be in that feeling for a moment. So you're feeling the love for the baby or whatever else you chose, and you're feeling that instinct to protect. Okay? And now I want you to imagine your entire brain filled with white light. Just imagine that your entire brain is filled with white light, and allow that white light to start going down from the brain, down the spine. And now the brain and the spine are both filled with white light all the way down to the tailbone. And now I want you to imagine a tube of white light extending past the tailbone, going into the earth, going through all the layers of the earth until it gets to the exact center of the earth. And feel your feet as you feel that white light going from your brain, down your spine, out your tailbone, through the earth. And imagine it's plugging into the exact center point of the core of the earth. And now you're still imagining that you're holding that baby or whatever else it is. Except now that becomes you. You're holding, you could imagine it as the baby you. You can imagine it as a shrunken down version of you right now. Whatever works, but now you're switching the baby for you. And you're giving that you, that version of you, the exact same protection. And now I want you to imagine that part of you is sitting on the chair right now, and the other part is traveling down this tunnel of white light. And imagine you're sitting with this version of you that you're protecting, and you're sitting in the core of the earth. And notice how it feels to be there. But also notice you're still sitting up here on the chair. So I want you to notice the difference between being down there and being up here. But they're both united, they're both linked. I want you to now feel that protection that you give. I want you to feel it here, and then I want you to feel it there. And let yourself kind of be in both places or float up and down between the two. But notice what's different at the center of the earth compared to up here on the skin of the earth. Notice your feet on the ground again. And I want you to just notice that you are becoming very grounded about protecting this precious thing. You're not angry. You're not looking for a fight. You're just solid. There's nothing to talk about. There's nothing to discuss. And now I'm going to do some energy work, and anybody that's watching this at another time or now, they'll get the same energy. So I want you just to mainly be in that center of the earth energy, but let it float. You know you're here too. Just let it go back and forth, but try to be down there. Try to be headquartered in the center of the earth, but aware of this part up here too. Here we go. sound back. So what's the difference between the core of the earth feeling and then here to you?
Just the compactness. I mean, like you felt. I just got more of a feeling of like what you would feel like cozy, kind of like a, more protected, and then
And if you're sitting down there, what does the you up here seem like compared to that?
just more vulnerable.
Okay.
Or more out in the open.
Right.
Maybe not vulnerable. I don't know.
Which one feels more solid and real?
The one down.
Right?
Right.
Could you feel that? Yeah.
Yeah.
So like what it felt to me like being there, and I've never had that experience before, it felt like sitting there in the core of the earth, looking at myself up here on the chair, was the same as like me sitting on the chair imagining my soul up there. You know, it's like the core of the earth is like a solid version more, it's like more real, and then this seemed almost like see-through in comparison, you know, almost like like a ghost-like thing, instead of like the real one was at the core of the earth and the ghost-like one was here, just the way we would say I'm the real one and then the ghost-like one is my spirit floating around or whatever, right? But so the idea with boundaries, so boundaries are part of the first chakra of grounding.
I need work grounding. I felt myself, it was pulling me. I had to keep pulling myself back to the middle.
Yeah.
I kept coming back up.
Right.
And I was
That's
like,
normal.
No, back to the middle.
It's normal.
I need work
Even
on
if you
that.
would have spent the whole time not even feeling like you ever got to the core of the earth,
Right.
that would just be where you are. That's the work to do. It's
Right.
fine,
Then I had like an aha moment, like, oh, I need some grounding work.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah,
sorry.
totally. No. But the thing is, people think grounding is like boring or whatever. It's not the most exciting topic, but it's so good. It's so cozy. It's so safe, and it's so protected and connected, and it's the foundation of everything, and so that's why I'm bringing this up, because like the whole thing about boundaries and people labeling your boundaries as aggressive, in the beginning when you set boundaries, you might need some aggression to protect the boundary. Yes. Right? You might need to say, don't walk on my new carpet with your dirty shoes. And I'm not going to discuss it with you. Get out of my house if you refuse to do that. Whatever, you got mud on your shoes. I just got a new carpet. So you might need, but the grounded part of it is like, of course you don't come into my house walking around in muddy shoes on my brand new carpet. Like, what are you thinking? Duh. It shouldn't even come to aggression, right? Like, of course you can't steal my baby. And I'm just like, okay, I guess my baby's getting stolen today. Of course there's going to be some aggression. But the fundamental thing is, no, you don't do that. What the hell do you think you're doing? Right? It's like, so you have a reality that's your reality, right? It might not agree with other people's realities. But you understand it. You know why you have it. You know why you have your boundaries, your rules, your procedures, whatever. And you don't necessarily have to give a full lecture to everybody that doesn't get it. You know, you could just say, house rules are blah, blah, blah. Why? I don't know. That's just the rules.
Right. They don't have to agree with it.
They don't have to agree. They don't have to know. They don't have to. I mean, it's not like it's all secret.
Right.
But, you know, I started with the take off shoes when you come into my place a long time ago when nobody was. Now it's so common,
Yeah.
right? But when I was doing it, people took it as offensive. And like, you're really going to make me take off my shoes? I'm like, well, if you want to come in here, I'm not going to make you any other place in the universe. I'm not going to walk up to you on the street and say, take your shoes off. You know, no. Only in my house. You know? And you don't have to be in my house. But if you want to be in my house, that's the deal. You know? Now, if you have some, like, super stinky feet or, you know, some handicap where it takes you 3 hours to get your shoes back on, we could talk about it. I'm not totally unreasonable, you know. But, so that's one thing to really focus on the grounding aspect of boundaries, whereas you might, when you're maintaining your boundaries, it's feeling aggressive and other people are labeling it as aggressive and all of that. Okay. So now one thing is, people get all excited about boundaries and they're like, yeah, I'm going to rearrange everything, and right. But then they don't think of the predictable challenges. The idea is you want to have as few boundaries as possible and have them really be solid. If you have, okay, you have to take off your shoes when you come to my house, then you have to clap your hands 5 times, then you have to spin around, now you got to spin around the other way, now we got to do the hokey pokey, you know, what, like, no. It's like you want to just have very limited, ideally, boundaries, right? Maybe your boundary is, you know, you can't hit me, you can't scream at me. Give me another one.
Don't feed my baby sugar when I'm not looking.
Okay, right. Yeah, don't feed my kids stuff that I don't approve of when I'm, you know, because otherwise you don't get to hang out with my kid, you don't get to babysit, you know, whatever, right? And yeah, because some people want to be like, well, I'm going to spoil my grandkid, or, you know, whatever, and you're like, not this one, right? And then, so imagine in a situation like that, you have a kid that'll get really hyper if they eat sugar, and you're gonna have to deal with it for the next 12 hours. You know, they feed your kid some sugar, and now you say don't do it, and then they did it, and then, you know, and now you're pissed off. And now they act like you're being out of line, right? Isn't that the way most people that don't respect boundaries act? They act like you're out of line, okay? And one thing I would urge, number one, don't have boundaries that you reset according to this person complaining about your boundaries. Okay? Boundaries are not to be ad hoc, you know, systems that you're well, I don't want you to feed him sugar. Well, whatever, you're the mother-in-law, okay, you know. It's like, well, then don't ever say it in the first place,
Right.
you know. Don't threaten somebody with a fight if you're
Right,
really
'cause
not
I
ready
wouldn't
to
let
fight.
one person do this, but you let other people do it because they push over your boundaries.
Yeah, the boundaries have to be as few as possible. They have to be very consistent and not necessarily like pushing into, you know, like they're very, you want them to be easy. It's grounding. It's not fighting. It's the first chakra. It's the earth chakra. It's the grounding. Okay. And when you have that, it's just kind of like, what? What's the problem? You know?
Right.
It's not a big dramatic thing. And boundaries are, again, like I was saying with the art, if you're gonna have a life that you create, if you're a creative person, if you're just a little bit unusual, whatever, you're gonna have to have a slightly different lifestyle system than anybody else in the world. You know, if you're not a total conformist, you're going to have to, you know, find, well, what do I want? Like, if you want to paint, you know, 6 hours a day, 5 days a week, you know, then you're going to have to find a time where nobody bothers you for 6 hours a day. Maybe that is when everybody's asleep. Okay. You know, maybe that is when your kid's at school, whatever, you know. But it also has to be no phone calls, no nothing. Nobody can visit. We can hang out in the afternoon. This time is not available, right? And when you do that, and especially when you do it for something you really care about, like art or whatever, people are going to come out of the woodwork to challenge that a lot of times. You know, when you try, I don't know, you try a new diet, people are going to bring a cake to your house. You know? They didn't even know about the damn diet. Sometimes they'll do it because they did know about the diet, right? But it's like the universe will test you to see if you mean it. Okay? You have to have the boundary. Think of the boundary, here's another analogy. Think of the boundary as a bank account. Like, I want to have $1 million in the bank. First, I need a bank account. Because I don't just go take $1 million to the bank with no account. You know? Right? I have to have that structure called an account. Right? And that account, well, there's certain people that can sign the checks and nobody else can. And there's certain people that can reset the pin on the you know, on the card and whatever, you know. It's like, so you have this bank account. If somebody's like, "Hey, can I have some of those checks?" No. That's my checks from my bank account. You can't just have some of my checks, right? And so, and people will be like, "Yeah, but you said you got that bank account so you could put $1 million in the bank, but there's not $1 million in it. So you might as well just give me some." You know? Like, no, I didn't say I'm going to put it in all the first day. I need the bank account, so you know, hopefully over time I'll get to $1 million, right? But I'm not saying I'm opening a bank account with $1 million. No, right? So I need the structure of this thing that has rules. Nobody can walk into that bank and say like, oh, I want to get some money out of Joe's bank account, right? Because I hear he has a lot in there, and I don't have much in mine. So I was thinking, why don't you give me some of his? But if you have an orange tree at your house or whatever, some neighbors might come picking oranges and be like, I don't have an orange tree and you have one, and I want oranges. So anyway, what's the main problem? What's the main challenge with boundaries? Give me one.
The main challenge?
Anyone. Yeah, it doesn't have to be the main one.
Just actually sticking with them?
Yeah. So what
Being
makes it
pushover.
hard to stick with them?
Just, I don't know, like caring more about like how what other people want than like what I actually, the boundary that I have.
Right.
And prioritizing.
So imagine you really had to pee, but they don't want you to. They want you to wait another couple hours, but you are about to explode. At that moment, do you give a shit what they want? Ideally not. Some people would just pee their pants and say, well, they didn't want me to go pee, so I just had to pee my pants, right? Some people would do that. Those people exist. But most people would say, I'm going to get to that bathroom, whether, whatever I got to do. Like, get out of my way. I'm going to tear the damn door off the hinges. Like, I got to go. Right? So imagine that you are better at prioritizing peeing than all your other goals in life. Like, imagine that. But the real primal thing, when it's a primal thing in your body, you know what to do. Right? It's not a compromise. It's not a 2-hour negotiation. It's not, is it going to hurt their feelings if I go to the bathroom now? We're right in the middle of the conversation. It might be rude. I mean, would it not be rude to be standing there just peeing your pants in front of them, and they're like, hey, what's going on? And you're, well, I didn't want to like break the vibe of the conversation, right? But I mean, I'm making it ridiculous. I always do, but it's like when you think of boundaries that way, it's like, of course I'm gonna go to the bathroom and not worry about what you think about it, But what if it is like, of course I'm going to leave the party if somebody's being an asshole? If 2 or 3 people are getting drunk and out of control, and I'm just not into dealing with that. And everybody's like, oh, don't worry about them, and you're like, no, I don't do these parties, that was over a while ago. I don't do that, and people are going to be like, oh, you're uptight and you're this and you're that, and you're like, no, man, it's fine, you guys have fun, I'm going home, But so there's all the peer pressure and stuff. So yeah, caring about what other people think. So in terms of when we were doing the visualization, the meditation, so when you take that core part of yourself and you hold it and you protect it like that baby or kitty, I'm sure for you, you know, and you feel, so imagine this. You have a baby that's been crying for an hour. And you just got it to sleep in your arms. And then some people come in the room being loud and obnoxious, like, what's that, his baby? You know, whatever. And you're like, shh, don't wake up the baby. I just dealt with getting this baby to sleep and stopping it from crying, okay? You are going to really be pissed if they don't shut up right now, right? If they start coming and poking the baby and they want to see the gender and take the diaper, you know, you're going to be like, what are you doing? Like, you're going to call the cops or whatever, right? You're not going to allow that. You're not going to worry about how they feel when you don't allow that. So this is the motif. Like, when we become solid in our boundaries in this grounded way, like, I just don't allow that. End of story. Why don't you allow it? Why would anybody allow it? I don't know. Okay? Because one thing, okay, when people say, like, well, that's hurting me, that you're not letting me do this thing that I want to do. Okay, well, then you're just going to have to be hurt. You know? That's a choice on your part. That's not really my problem. I'm not here to make sure you don't get insulted by I'm telling you to shut up around my sleeping baby. I don't care. I'm standing for the baby. And that's what I'm saying is your true self is at least as important as the baby. And you got to treat it that way. And you got to, like, so this thing where everybody's so kind of, oh, I don't want them to get mad at me. I don't want to be rejected by the group. And I don't want to be the weirdo. And, you know, all this conformist energy that what we do is we convince ourselves that weakening ourselves and conforming, something going on back there? Oh, okay. Is like compassion. Okay? This is the trap of the person with bad boundaries. Okay? My empathy for the other person is so strong that I lose myself. And the trap in that, especially for spiritual, so-called spiritual people, is it feels like this beautiful altruistic thing. I'm a giver. I care about other people. You know, it feels like that kind of thing, right? And I sacrifice myself for others or whatever. But if you go donate blood every day, it's not going to be good after 3 or 4 days. It's going to start really being a problem. You know? And you say, but people need blood. You know, yeah, but you can't go every day and give them a pint of your blood when your body only has 12 pints. You know? It's a bad idea. You know, really taxing on your body to be losing that much blood all the time. you know. No matter how much everybody else needs blood, you gotta be like, not today.
Everyone needs a lot of things.
Yeah, everybody needs a lot of things. Yeah. And if you give up all your things, there's still going to be everybody needing a lot of things because you don't have that many things. You give them all up, it's not going to save many people at all, you know. And so, yeah, this thing of, well, I care about, don't you care how that makes them feel when you don't let them do what they want? I care. I care mainly how shit makes me feel. That's the first thing. You know. But I do care what other people go through. Yeah. But if it's gonna handicap me, why would I do that? So you feel good, you know. So yeah, this is a big trap. What's another trap?
Conflict, not wanting to get into, I guess, started.
Right.
So you just like think about, oh, this is gonna start a fight, so I'll just like, the same thing, just not holding your boundary. But that's what we just talked about.
Right. Yeah. It's similar to, well, I care what they think, I care what they feel, but it's also like they're going to get mad at me.
Right.
It's going to be a fight.
Yeah.
Right. And like I said, they're going to make it like your boundaries are an act of aggression.
Right.
And so it's really important to remember your boundaries are not an act of aggression, but you might need some aggression enforcing your boundaries. And that aggression might be as simple as, don't do that. That's aggression. You know, it's mild aggression, but it's aggression, right? Because some people never want to hear that.
Right.
And some people will fight you if you say that to them. People don't like to hear, don't do that. Right? But the other option is, okay, well, do whatever you want. I'll clean up later. Right? And so there's a groundedness, right? So here's one thing I want to give you as an image. The first three chakras, right? So we already did the first chakra. The second and the first chakra is the earth chakra. It's the color red, tailbone perineum. Second chakra is the water chakra, okay, and that is the pelvic area. And the third chakra is the fire chakra. So earth, water, fire, okay? And that's the solar plexus. Now, the second chakra, so we have the grounding of earth. We have the playing field. That's the grounding. Now, second chakra is water. Water adapts and moves and whatever, okay? So what I mean is, what we want to have when we're defending our boundaries, we don't want this stubborn, these are my boundaries, you know, right? We don't want just earth and fire. The water part is the spontaneity, the flexibility, the maneuverability. Doesn't mean changing the boundaries for other people. That's not the flexibility I'm talking about. But it does mean when the boundaries are challenged, that you move with the spontaneity of the moment in how you deal with it. That it's not like, okay, so a lot of people will set up a certain boundary and then they get ready for battle. Okay? This is my boundary, and now I'm going to enforce this boundary and whatever. And then, that's a drag. That's not fun. So you want to have like this kind of adaptability to it, right? So if it's like maybe you're going to make a little joke. Maybe okay, give me a rule to impose on somebody as my boundary, like like a reasonable one. Give me any rule, any boundary. Any boundary.
You're not allowed to touch me.
You're not allowed to touch me. Right. Okay. I don't want you to touch me. You're not allowed to touch me. Is that cool? Are we cool? You get it? Any questions? Right? Whatever. Now imagine what somebody says, well, but I want to touch you anyway, whatever. I mean, imagine what they do to that. Imagine the like somebody that wants to violate that boundary, what are they going to say?
Well, they're going to be like, well, why not? What if I...
Right.
What if I
Okay, so
Yeah,
just... What if what?
I don't know.
Yeah, just even why not? That's fine. Okay, so if you imagine this stuck way, this kind of chip on the shoulder way, it could be like, I have a boundary and you're not allowed to touch me, and that's it. And I'm going to call the police or whatever, right? Imagine they say, why not? And you're like, nobody knows. That's just the rule. And you smile. Or maybe you say, I don't know, ask the officers when you're riding to the police station and maybe they'll explain. I don't know all the details. All I know is you're not allowed to touch me. Right? Or you might say, because my boyfriend is a ninja assassin and I will get his ass on you and you will be dead and I don't want you to be dead. So I'm just trying to help you out. Or whatever the hell. What I'm saying is you want to have kind of a playful, you want to hold the boundary, but you don't want to hold the boundary in a way. Imagine a bully is going after a kid in school. And the kid's like, don't touch me, don't touch me, don't touch me. And the bully keeps touching the kid, right? Well, if he just keeps saying, don't touch me, don't touch me, don't touch me, that doesn't do anything, right? But if he's like, oh, okay, that was 2 times, that was 3 times, that was 4 times. All right, you're getting a lot of counts of first-degree assault. Nice. Okay. I got, and you kind of look like, I'm just taking notes, and your ass is going to jail, I have clearly said, don't touch me, and now you're touching me, and now I'm just counting all the offenses that you will be charged with, right? And usually at that point, the person's like, oh, you're weird, and they walk away. So you want to kind of, what I'm saying, again, you want to have this flexible way of working with boundaries. So let's go through a few things like, There's boundaries in relationships, boundaries in families, there's boundaries at work, boundaries with friends. Let's pick friends. Give me an example of a friend of yours, and I'm going to end this for you guys now.